Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Theory. Today we'll be breaking down Loki Season 2, Episode 1. If you haven't checked out Loki Season 1, I highly recommend watching it before Season 2 because it plays directly into each other and is one of the better Marvel shows out there. You can also, if you wish, watch Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania to learn more and see more of Kang. So, quick breakdown of Season 1 just to get started here. Loki from Endgame ends up in this facility called the TVA. They basically make sure everything stays in one timeline, the sacred timeline, and doesn't branch out to new timelines. Loki meets a variant of himself named Sylvie, who is causing havoc for the TVA, and an ally, Mobius, who works for the TVA. Loki finds out the TVA is not ran by fake gods, but is actually ran by Kang, or is also known as He Who Remains. He also figures out that the people who work for the TVA had lives that they do not remember, and were taken to this facility to do Kang's work. Kang explains to Loki and Sylvie that he is basically the lesser of two evils, that you can have him or an infinite amount of more evil versions of himself. Sylvie decided to take matters into her own hands and kill He Who Remains, causing a major shift in the MCU's sacred timeline. Season 1 ends with Loki finding Mobius and Mobius not remembering him. So now that you're caught up, let's get into Season 2. Season 2, we start with the iconic Marvel opening sequence. It has a few new characters added to the sequence, but most notable being Miss Minutes from Loki Season 1. We start off with a view of Kang's statue. I don't believe this has to be the same statue that we saw at the end of Season 1, and we see Loki fleeing from Mobius and B-15 when Loki takes the easy way out and jumps off the ledge. The TVA facility here kind of reminds me of Coruscant, with all the flying cars and tall buildings. So soon we will find out Loki didn't go into another timeline, but instead went back in time, and the show actually has small hints to that. One is when we meet Casey. He's a janitor, but when we first met him in Season 1, he worked at a desk that he claimed to never leave, so this is possibly a time before he got his mind wiped. When Loki gets away, the screen which he's standing under, which I thought would fall onto him and he would time slip, which we find out later in the episode what that is, falls onto a TVA logo, cracking it. Loki then time slips into the current timeline, and we know because we can see the floor is cracked right where he lands. This is when Loki starts to realize he's going back and forward in time. Cut to Mobius and B-15 in the current timeline, and they are looking at the TVA monitor bay. We see there are now tons of branches symbolizing new timelines being created because of the events in Loki Season 1. B-15 wants to tell everyone at the TVA what's going on, but Mobius is not exactly ready to do that. We then meet Hunter X5 when Mobius is called into the war room. Now, from trailers we see he plays almost like a movie star in later episodes, this possibly being the life he had before the TVA. While going to the war room, we see Hunter D90, who was responsible for pruning Mobius in Season 1. He actually kind of apologizes too. Loki gets to the war room only in the past, where he notices this mural of Kang's face, which we will later see in the current timeline. They covered up. But let's stay with Loki in the past timeline. He plays tapes of Kang and Ravonna Renslayer, so it seems that she played some type of key role in the rise of He Who Remains. We just don't know what. Not yet, at least. Loki comes back to the current timeline and finally reunites with current-day Mobius. Mobius and Loki decide to go to OB, and OB, if you didn't know, is played by the kid in Indiana Jones' Temple of Doom.
Hey, lady, you call him Dr. Jones.
And we get some comedic relief from this character. It's just always great when he's on screen. Now, time travel kind of works like Back to the Future with Doc and Marty, where what you do in the past will impact the future. So Loki time splits to OB 400 years before and has a similar conversation to what current Mobius and OB are having. Whatever Loki tells OB in the past, OB will suddenly remember in the current timeline, updating in real time. OB explains that Loki needs a temporal aura extractor to stop time slipping from happening. So they go to the observation deck after Loki comes back to the current timeline, and before it, they pass the sign on the floor that reads temporal radiation levels escalate exponentially beyond this threshold. Likelihood of spaghettification increases 70,000%. The door that opens to the room is similar to the X-Men doors that have a big X and openings from the center to the left and right. Cool little Easter egg there that they put in. So basically, this is where it gets kind of confusing. Loki must prune himself after Mobius installed installs the extractor. However, they only have 5 minutes to do so because of how unstable things are. So he time slips now into the future, and we could tell because Mobius traced in dust the word skin. In the current timeline, and since it can't be in the past, that would be we assume this is the future. In the future, Loki follows a ringing phone where he will see Sylvie prying open an elevator door. We can tell this means something to him because a little teardrop streams down his cheek. Finally, Loki gets pruned and gets back to the current timeline. However, we should note we don't know who pruned him. The episode ends with TVA agents going through the orange doors ready to, I guess, prune some timelines. There actually, to our surprise, is an after-credits scene of Sylvie. Seems like current-day Sylvie, but also in the past, possibly with how the layout of McDonald's looks. She says she wants to try everything, and then it ends officially. Now, I'm a big fan of this episode. It's fast-paced and picked up right where it left off in season 1. But I'm curious, where do you guys think the season is heading? What does Sylvie mean by trying everything in the after-credits scene? Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like and comment and subscribe if you're new here. I'll be making more content here as we go forwards with the show and other shows. Thanks so much for your time. See you in the next one.